What's up, everyone? Welcome to the What's Your Five podcast, another special episode. Yes, my name is Rodell, and joining me this week is JoelFrrr, my gaming co-host, and another special guest. Our special episode, is going to go over the top 5 Final Fantasy games. But first, I did want to mention and point out that this episode's special because I will not be participating in the list giving. Actually, I will actually be moderating this episode today because my special guest and Joel will be debating on what their Final Fantasy lists are and how cool their lists are going to be between each other. So I'm really excited for this. This was actually brought up by one of our fans by the name of Mark over in New York. Thank you so much, Mark, for actually providing that topic. I do want to mention also that you can also reach us at topics@whatsyour5.com for any type of episode topics you want to suggest. If you want to be on the show, any of that stuff, please reach out to us there, or you can reach out to us at any of our social media platforms on Instagram or Twitter at whatsyour_5. And don't forget about our mini-sode on Wednesday. We're starting to do the mini-sodes, which will be pretty slick. It's a quick 20-minute, 15-minute, depending on what you look at. But we're definitely having mini-sodes that are definitely more digestible to our users or to our subscribers. So please look out for those. Hit the like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, just so that way you're able to keep up with all the stuff What's Your Five related. One more thing I do want to mention is that because this is a special episode, this also means it's going to be a special giveaway. So, yay. This month's giveaway of November is going to be 5 games that are listed in this show tonight. So what I'd like to do is for this giveaway, whoever wins the giveaway, which is going to be in a week, you're going to look at the link at the description below, is we're going to look at both our special guests and Joel's list. And if one of those lists is going to be your list of Final Fantasy games that you're going to own. So if you win, you have the choice of either a special guest or Joel's. So keep out on the lookout for that. Watch and listen to this entire episode so that way you guys find out what games you may win in our giveaway. So thank you for that. It's been such a great time to do the giveaway, doing all of our social media promotions and all that stuff. So thank you very much for that. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our special guest. She is an IT professional that Joel and I have known for quite some time now. Really avid gamer, super duper awesome to know. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Megan Hunt. So how are you, Miss Megan?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for asking. Joel, how's it going, sir?
It's going great. Awesome to have Megan on the pod. We've as Rodell mentioned, we've known Megan for a long time. A lot of video game type related discussions with her in the past. So good to have her on.
Yeah, it's always good. We would all be in the same large office, and we would always exchange what games we're playing or we're not playing or why we aren't playing and all that good stuff. So it's always good to have her on. So speaking of which, what have you been playing lately, Megan? Because I know we're all in quarantine and all this other stuff. So, I mean, is there anything particular that you've been playing?
Yeah. I actually just finished The Last of Us 2 like a couple weeks ago.
Okay, right on. Are you in favor or against how it ended?
I feel like I'm still processing what had happened. Like, that game was just so intense for me. Like,
Right.
there was the one game where I really had to put it down and just be like, I'm done for right now.
Really?
A lot of moments were just, and also I'm a scared cat, so those freaking clickers are just awful. I think I liked the ending.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like the very, very ending, right? Where
Right.
She...
Yeah, I mean,
We do spoilers here, Megan. Go for it.
It's cool. Don't worry about it.
Where she just kind of walks off and into the forest, and it's just kind of like, okay, was she going back to Jackson, or is she leaving all of this crap behind? Because I thought it was strange she left the guitar behind, being like the last gift from Joel. That was kind of weird for me.
That was your gift, Joel? No.
By the way, don't feel bad, Megan. Probably the scariest game I can play is like original BioShock. Anything more thrilling than that, I play for like half an hour and I'm like, oh, that was a good time. Resident Evil 2 remaster, that was a good time. 30
Oh
minutes
yeah,
uninstalled.
I
it's
don't
very
know.
very. I'm very very similar. Yeah, it
Is
was a
it
struggle to get through.
really? So okay, so tell me this then. So could you play Resident Evil remake, like Resident Evil 2 remake? Because I heard that was really scary. I know Joel can, and I kind of, but is that something
No,
that you're not? Okay, gotcha.
no. I tried to play. Was it Days Gone? PS4 game maybe.
Uh-huh. Yep,
I
yep,
think
yep.
it's a zombie thing,
Yeah.
and I got maybe a half hour into it, and I needed to go into like a dark underpass tunnel, and I was just like, no, I'm not going in there. I'm done.
No, you're done. That's it. Game over. I'm done.
Go in there, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been playing Dying Light as well lately, and I've forgotten how awful it is at night when the really, really scary fast zombies come out. That you could skip past it by just like sleeping through the night. I never play at night. I can't do it. It's
Wow.
just,
So just so you guys know, we're actually recording this on Halloween, which is kind of a interesting note. It's considering the fact that we're talking about scary games. So
Totally unplanned.
totally unplanned. I didn't realize that Megan played Last of Us 2, let alone beat it. I wanted to play it, be honest with you, but maybe I am a scaredy cat too, because I played part 1 and I think it was like the first maybe 3 hours. I was like, nope, this is a little too scary for me. I can't do it. And I had headphones on and all that stuff, and I couldn't do it. I was like,
Oh, there's your mistake there, Riddell. You turn the volume down, you turn the brightness up, open the windows.
Have a phone call on.
Right, you invite a buddy over so you don't
Yeah.
have to really pay attention too much. So
Yeah,
that's how you do scary games, man.
I guess.
actually,
man.
yeah, I could only play it when someone else was watching.
So gotcha. All right, good deal. So we here at What's Your Five, we like to do a trial by fire rapid 5 question segment for all of our special guests, and you are no different, Miss Megan. So we catered some questions for you, and I'd like these questions to be answered as quickly as you can. I would like to do like a word association type of deal. So if you say, if I say hot, you would say like water, something like that, right? So if I'm going to give you this question, I want to try to give you some, a little bit of time to answer, but for the most part, these aren't very embarrassing questions, at least I don't think. Not very personal, so don't worry about that. But I'm definitely interested for your responses for these questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, here we go. So question number 1 is going to be, if there was one Final Fantasy world that you wanted to live in, what would it be?
The Final Fantasy 14 world.
14? Really?
Yeah, it just seems so large and expansive.
You're talking about the MMO, right?
Yes,
Like
yeah.
the one that I asked you to play numerous times and you didn't want to play.
I played it before.
Okay. Wait, was
Yeah.
that pre 1.0 or is that pre Realm Reborn or after?
Both actually.
Why
Didn't
haven't
want
we-
to play with you, Riddell.
Apparently so. Man, dude, I feel
I'm
cheated on.
still busy playing classic WoW. I'm sorry.
Oh god. Oh man, I think we gotta stop recording pretty soon. Anyway, so all right. Question number 2. Final Fantasy 14. I do like the answer. Question number 2. Who do you think is the most annoying character in any Final Fantasy game?
Wow, that's actually hard. There's a lot of them.
Okay, all right. Who comes to mind first?
I'm gonna say Zell from Final Fantasy VIII.
Really?
This is the first one that popped into my mind, but because of reasons, I thought that wasn't fair.
Mhm.
Gave it some thought, but no. Yeah.
Okay, good deal. So, all right. Question number 3. Favorite console of all time?
PlayStation.
This PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2? PlayStation?
Oh, I guess PlayStation 2.
Okay. Yeah,
Most of my PlayStation memories come from that one.
Gotcha. All right, good deal. Favorite spell in the Final Fantasy franchise?
Oh my gosh, Meltdown.
Meltdown. I don't even
Good
know what
choice.
Meltdown. But which one's Meltdown from? Now I'm now I'm confused.
It's Final Fantasy VIII. That's the one I'm familiar with it,
Mhm.
and I believe it lowers like their defenses by
Hmm.
100 or something.
Hmm.
It's an awesome junction. That's like the only thing I used it for. It was an
Yes,
excellent junction.
yeah. Yep,
So,
always at 100.
so basically, it's still one of the crappier games in my opinion. But we've talked about this before in a previous podcast, to say. But all right, and the last question is going to be: if you had the resources, what character would you cosplay?
Oh man. It's unfortunate because I don't know like the characters' names or if there even is a name.
Okay.
But those judges in Final Fantasy 12, I thought their armor was super cool.
Oh, good choice, Megan. I fully endorse that choice.
Do you really?
So I think I mentioned in our last mini sub with the party members.
Yeah.
The judges and Kane from FF4 are my favorite armor designs from Final Fantasy.
Good
They
deal.
look great.
All right.
There's something very like ominous about the helmet for some reason.
All right, good deal. So clearly, I am way out of my element here, just because of the fact that I've played most of these games, except for the two games that you guys have been mentioning, which is 8 and 12. So very interesting choices, to say the least, and I will definitely have to look this up later on. Thank you very much, Megan, for participating in that, and it's always fun to kind of get a little bit more information from our special guests moving forward. So thank you for that. So with that out of the way, let's just go ahead and top 5 Final Fantasy games of all time. Now, again, I am not participating in this list. Particularly, one of the reasons being is because the giveaway would be super simple. It'd just be Final Fantasy 6 5 times in a row. 6, yeah, 6. What? Yep, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. And that would be your giveaway. Sorry, guys. So I wanted to have some more flair and more in-depth knowledge and opinions, because realistically, I kind of know what both Joel and Megan are going to be choosing, kind of, but I'm definitely interested to see how they rank them. And so my role in this is going to be that I will be moderating this episode, as far as kind of giving the transitions and all the good stuff and asking questions, because realistically I'm very curious as to why they would choose these games. Is there any, I know Joel has his criteria usually before we go into the list. Megan, did you have any criteria going into this prior to making your choices to these games?
I did. It was more, definitely how they impacted me as I was growing up.
Okay, great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. And Joel, how was your criteria this time around, sir?
Yeah, so I think just 2 or 3 points. First off, as I kind of always do for all my lists, I have to have finished the game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a handful I didn't finish, sorry, and they're not as awesome as they may have been. They're not going to be on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to take a holistic view of the whole game.
Okay.
Some games I love the OST, but if the gameplay isn't up to par, sorry, it also does not make the list.
Yep.
And then kind of on Megan's point, games are so vastly different now. If you were to compare Final Fantasy 15 to say Final Fantasy 5,
Mm-hmm.
there's a huge technological difference. There's a huge presentation difference.
Story
So you really
difference.
have to capture how it was when it came out, when you first played it, and compare those feelings and thoughts to how the games you play now are. Those are my few criteria.
Good deal. Good deal. I like it. So again, I want to again thank you, Megan, very much for joining us on this, and I'm very curious to see how this plays out. So with that being said, you are the guest. You're going first. So I want to know, Megan, what is your number 5 Final Fantasy game of all time?
Number 5.
Yes.
I have my number 5 as the first Final Fantasy.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Because
All right.
I getting into Final Fantasy, I went started like in the middle, I guess, and then worked my way backwards, and then got to 1. But for me, it was very interesting to see where they had come from in 1 to where they had gone from the first game that I started with. And just the simplicity of the first one, I thought was just, and how well it worked. It was just like super easy to pick up and play. and get the hang of.
Mhm.
And I don't know, it was just really cool to be able to do that, like without having to go online and look at like strategies and stuff like that,
Huh.
like I've done for some of the other Final Fantasy games.
So may I ask you then, did you play this originally on the Nintendo or did you play the remake?
I think I played the remake.
Okay, you played the remake. Okay.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I've never owned a Nintendo, unfortunately.
Oh,
Yeah,
deprived as a child.
I was. I was.
Oh man. Okay. No, that's pretty interesting. You know what? I'm already astounded as to what that choice was. I mean, Joel, thoughts? I said I wasn't really aware of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that ladies and gentlemen, is why we're having Megan on the show.
Yeah.
The closest I've came to the original Final Fantasy is playing the Warrior of Light in Dissidia. I've never touched the game besides that.
That's not true. We played World of Final Fantasy and we played the summon for the Warrior of Light, which, by the way, guys, World of Final Fantasy is one horrible game, just so you know. But
Okay, someone else.
It's all nostalgia, and it's okay. That's okay.
yeah. So,
Can you guys hear kids outside my door? But anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've never played it. So that's why we have someone who's played all of them on our show.
That's very
I would have never chosen this.
So then, I guess one question before we move to Joel's is, do you remember who your four were, like your four original?
Oh my god, I don't really. I know I had a. So I know this is how it like beat the last boss, was just like continuously over and because you could stack this potion over and over and over again and make him super OP.
Right.
And I think it was just the warrior.
So
that's like all I did. I stacked potions on this guy, and he like two-shot the boss.
So he's two-shot at Garland. All right, good deal.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So thank you very much for that, Joel. I'd like to ask you, sir, what is your 5?
Number 5 for me is going to be Final Fantasy IV.
All right.
So yeah, I think we've talked about this on our Minnesota as well.
Mhm.
So my list, spoiler alert, this is my favorite old school Final Fantasy game. Sorry,
Yep.
Riddle. And to me, it's just a classic fantasy game, right? It's a classic characters,
Mhm.
classic story, classic SNES era JRPG battle system where you have your roles predefined, you have dedicated damage dealers, you have dedicated DPS, you have dedicated black mage and summoners, stuff like that.
Yep. Mhm.
The bad guy Golbez, he's the bad guy from the beginning, and he has his treacherous ways, and the main character's best friend turns on him and has the love interest from the beginning. So to me, it's if I were to read like a fantasy story from that time, this is the kind of story I would expect. OST is good. I wouldn't say it's like very, very top up there, but it's good. And as I said many times, Kane is one of my favorite character designs of the series. Yeah, he is. I think the term they use is weak-minded.
He was weak-minded.
He was weak-minded, but there's redemption in there, as I mentioned.
But it was redemption after the fact. In the game, it was just like, hey, look at me, guys, I'm the badass, and all of a sudden, it's just like, hey, look at me, guys, I'm killing one of my best friends. So, and then you had Rosa, blind follower of love, just be like, I'll go wherever you go, Cecil, I don't care. Like it's just,
I'm gonna go into the desert and follow you, and
yeah.
Now you have to rescue me, but
yeah,
classic damsel in distress. So to me, very classic game.
Oh yeah, super simple
definition of that era JRPG. That's why it's my number 5.
Good deal. Yeah, again, one of my favorite RPGs of all time, just because it's one of my first RPGs I ever played, like as a whole. I mean, I played Final Fantasy 1, but growing up as a kid and you play that, you have no idea how the game plays, and that's why when you said 1, Megan, I was like, wow, that's quite interesting. And then when you said, oh, I played the remake, oh, that makes more sense now, because when I played it the first time, when I was like, when I was 8, I was like, what do I do? Like, I know that I pick all these characters, and I do, I'll pick fighter, I'll pick a black belt, I'll pick a red mage, and I'll pick, I don't know what else after that. Or you can pick all black belts. Who cares, right? But yeah, I always thought that was just it was a kind of hard to digest as a child. Now I'm sure it's a lot easier, but that's the way I look at it. But all right, good deal. So number 4, Megan, what do you got?
Final Fantasy 15.
Okay, the bro trip. Good deal.
Yes,
all right.
yeah. I was debating if I was even going to put this on the list because really at the end of the day,
Mhm.
it's like, did I enjoy that game?
I remember asking you about it like during work time. Like, yeah, so how's the bro trip going? It's all right.
Yeah, it is all right.
Yeah.
I definitely liked the combat. The combat for me was just more freeing than any other Final Fantasy game except maybe 12.
Yeah.
Just do your own thing.
Yeah.
And I can do my thing.
So then the question becomes, did the story intrigue you as some people thought the story was really good, other people thought it was kind of like, what did you think?
I didn't like the story, really. I thought it was weak, and that point in the game where they have their communication issues and just all sulky and everything. I was like, just get your shit together, guys. I don't want to have to play through this. But I also just super like the chocobos. I spent so much time with the chocobos, even though there really wasn't that much to do.
Right.
Like, I would just race them over and over and over again.
Wow.
It's been a while.
Yeah, another Final Fantasy I actually have not played. In fact, no, I take that back. I did play for about like 10 hours, and I couldn't deal with it anymore. I didn't like the banter. It wasn't Final Fantasy to me. It was, it was a it was a bro trip that should have been called Bro Trip, 2020 or whatever the case was, because I didn't like it at all. And Noctis was all right. But I think the other thing too is I watched Kingsglaive, which I watched the movie.
Oh, so did I.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, that's cool, but it still didn't get me. I don't know. Did you play it, Joel?
Yeah, I did. I have conflicting thoughts of Final Fantasy 15. I played a good chunk at the beginning. I wasn't a fan of how they kind of went with the current trend of open worldness of like, here's a map with a bunch of subquests that you can do real quick. Because I can't leave an area until I finish all the subquests.
Yep.
So I found myself like first map of the game. I was like, all right, this is new Final Fantasy. Like, well, let me get this guy's car repair kit from the store real quick. Let me find this enemy or like 3 enemies from the bounty from the bar real quick. And that's just not Final Fantasy style for me.
Right.
I will say, because since we're a spoiler-filled show,
Yes.
The ending, like the last 20% of it was heavy. It was I think out of all like the Final Fantasy games, it was Noctis's being gone for I think it was 10 years.
Yeah.
While they struggled to keep the world afloat. Again, spoilers, them all pretty much dying to save the world. It was heavy. It was a good ending. I think it was a lot of the Final Fantasy games. They're made, a lot of the earlier ones anyway. They're made kind of back to back to back.
Yeah,
and I think that kind of cheapens some of the endings. I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy VIII. But 15, obviously, more recently they've been letting them give a lot of themselves developmental years.
Yeah,
it's 5 years. We're going to spend 5 years. I think Final Fantasy 15 was supposed to be Final Fantasy 11, I believe.
Something.
And they just kept pushing it back and back and back.
Yeah.
So they did the ending very well. I won't deny that. And I agree with Megan. The battle system was as much. It reminds me of 7 Remake, where it's action RPG and better than Kingdom Hearts. So I enjoyed the battle system as well.
Still need to get into the remake deal, but yeah, all right, good deal.
The car though.
The car.
The car. My top number 6 boss is that car and landing it.
I did enjoy Florence and the Machines though remake of Stand By Me for Final Fantasy 15. I thought that was amazing. That was an amazing job by that group. If you haven't listened to that, folks, please do. It's great. It's great rendition. So
second best vocalized song in the Final Fantasy series.
What was the first one, Joel? Eyes on Me.
Eyes on Me. Come on, man.
Yes, yeah.
Asking?
Terrible.
But second best is good. Second best is good. Now I know. What you're talking about.
Sorry, man. Final Fantasy 10 too, guys. What was it? 1,000 words, 2,000 words, something like that. You guys remember that one? I don't know if you guys played 10 too.
I did not.
Forget it. Okay. Anyway, Joel, number 4. What you got, bro?
Number 4, and sorry if you choose my list. There's only like 2 platforms this game is on. Final Fantasy Tactics.
Tactics. All right.
Tactics. So, if you are into the Game of Thrones type storyline, This is you. It's a heavy story. It's political intrigue. It's backstabbing. It's mystical science here. It reminds me of 12.
Okay.
I know 12 wasn't as well received because there wasn't a love story, and I think most people who play Final Fantasy want some love story. Tactics did not have a love story, but it was so good. The story was so good. Delita is still, in my opinion, one of the best villain / anti-heroes in the Final Fantasy series. And then the gameplay. I mean, I prefer my Final Fantasies where I have a choice of how I want to play my characters. That's why 4 ranked kind of low for me because, you know.
Oh no, it's a super linear. Like, hey, you're gonna play this monk. I don't care who you have on your party.
Yeah.
You know, this is gonna have to happen. Yeah, I get it.
Rosa will never be a powerhouse damage dealer, right?
Never, unless you choose white. So, or not white. It was holy in the later games. In
that's one,
Nintendo is white.
Yeah.
Continue.
So, but in Tactics kind of has that job kind of system like FF5 and 12, where your character starts as a job, but you can flip it anytime you want.
Sure,
you can grow your characters how you want. And that made it really fun for me to really experiment with my party composition. The one flaw I would have it's very similar to Chrono Cross or Suikoden, where you have a lot of characters.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of characters usually means not a lot of character growth for a lot of the characters. They get their one scene and then they're part of your party, and they have generic responses after that.
Yeah,
that's the one kind of downside, is that besides the main character Ramza, no one else in your party really has as much development. But the story, awesome. Gameplay, awesome. I'm waiting for the sequel on the Game Boy Advance was okay, but I'm waiting for a remaster. Square, I know you're listening.
Oh yeah, Square's totally listening to this because they don't have any PR at all, so they have us. Final Fantasy Tactics. Okay, again, RTS, not my jam. If you guys heard that before, I will definitely try it one day. If they remake it, I will definitely buy it for sure because everybody and their mothers has recommended this game to me countless times. So I definitely need to get myself on that wagon. Megan, have you played it?
No, I haven't. I haven't played many of the games outside like the
main line.
The main line, yeah.
Okay.
And I also am not a fan of RTS games.
Yeah.
You guys are missing out.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, it's just one of those things. The God games are cool, but I don't know, man. I don't like. I mean, well, it's kind of weird that you say that, Megan, because I know you're a big WoW fan, and so that originated from the RTS games. Were you playing Warcraft back in the day too, or? You just...
I mean, yes, a little bit, but it's not my preferred game.
Genre.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just not how I choose to spend my time.
All right, good deal. So, all right, we're getting to the middle of this of these lists here. We have number 3. Megan, who do you got?
Number 3 is Final Fantasy 11.
Okay, all right.
Yep, and it's number 3 for me because that was the first MMO I ever played.
Yeah.
And
was it really?
Damn it. Yeah.
So that was the first time you ever were involved with digital crack. Is that
exactly? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And ever since then, got me hooked.
Man, dude. So let me ask you this. So that was, again, just so you guys know, that was actually my first MMO as well. Did you pay attention to the story while you were playing the game, or did you just skip everything and just didn't care?
Oh shit, I skipped everything. And I think, God, how old was I? Maybe 14 or 15? I don't know.
Did you play it on PS2 or did you play it on PC?
I played it on PC.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a Dark Knight.
Yes.
Started off as a red mage, but then
Me too.
and I really didn't have any comprehension of what the hell I was doing at this time.
No.
Oh yeah, and was not at all in any optimal spec.
No way. If you guys don't know, in Final Fantasy 11, you had your main job and then you had your sub job. And what Megan's trying to explain for the lack of seconds there is that when you are a Dark Knight, you want to have a sub job that's particularly strong, right? So you want like a warrior or what else, ninja or a thief as your sub job, because that way you get more damage. Because ultimately, as a Dark Knight, you're dealing damage all day, so that's part of your job in the party when you're grinding for XP, and so I get it, and I played it, and I was exactly your route. I did the red mage thing for a while, and then I subbed the red mage with Dark Knight, and everybody and their mother laughed their asses off at me because they're like, "Do you have I get Japanese PMs like, do you have thief sub, or do you have warrior sub?" I'm like, "No, this is what I have," and I'd be staying in Juno for hours waiting for a party to grind. And spoiler alert, folks, I never got to the level cap in that damn game because I could never find a party to do it. Because you could never solo. Back then, you could not solo any of these games. You could not. You had to have people with you. So I totally hear you on that. And yeah, I love that game, but I hate that game. In fact, one of my best friends, shout outs to George, he and I played the living hell out of that game, and he was a pally. And he was always in demand every time. Everybody wanted the tank every single time. So, yeah, that was my deal. Joel, I know you never really played. Well, I take that back. You did play MMOs. You actually played Final Fantasy 14 with me, but you never really got interested in 11. Like, did you even know, or did you even care at the time when you're like, "Ooh, 11 came out," especially for PS2 when they released it with hard drive?
Yeah, I saw it. I was disappointed because I love 10.
Yeah.
That was the next one. And there was no way I was going to be able to spring for the modem attachment I think you needed for the PS2.
Well, no,
there was the Ethernet attachment, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I thought the Ethernet came with. No, you know what? It didn't. It just came with the hard drive. It didn't come with the network attachment. That's right.
I think you have to add it to the back.
That's right.
I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to spring for this. Being a 13-year-old with no job and not sure if I like the game. So
yeah,
never got into it. The only two MMOs I kind of got into were Star Wars: Old Republic and aforementioned Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah. So yeah, Final Fantasy 14, one of my favorite MMOs all time. Really easy to get into. In fact, I should probably come back on there just because they're doing a free trial at this recording. But good deal, Megan. Thank you for your number 3 because again, that's definitely one that hits close to home. That's actually, if I were to put my list up there, Final Fantasy 11 would be up there just because I had so many memories with that and late nights of nerdiness and playing with my buddy. He would I would be playing on PC and then he'd be playing on my PS2 and we'd be all playing together like in the same room and going to parties and killing worms for hours to gain one level. Silkworms, Crawler's Nest. You know the drill. Yep.
Is that the first game that supported crossplay?
I'm not sure if I'm not sure if that's the first game that supported crossplay, but it was definitely up. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I know there was a shooter that was like the first one to do it.
Right.
But I'm surprised that it supported crossplay. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's true. So, Joel, number 3, what do you got?
Number 3, I have Final Fantasy 9. So this was, I think, some of you have listened to our last pods. I grew up in the PS1 era. That was my jam, my most impactful, I guess, growing up in my gaming life. Final Fantasy 9. It was the first Final Fantasy I played that had the classic theme, right? Because you had 7 and 8, which were the sci-fi kind of futuristic Final Fantasy type, and then besides Dragon Quest 1 on the NES, I did not play a traditional classic RPG until Final Fantasy 9. So it was a great time to go to the I guess the Evil East kind of time frame. The thing about FF9, it has such a strong cast of characters. I think it's right behind my number 1 game of cast of characters. Each one is deep. Each one grows.
Are you telling me that Kina grows? I don't even remember half of the stuff that
Exclusion
and
Exclusion
and Mr. Dreadlocks. I don't even remember what that guy's name was.
Amrant.
Yeah, Amrant. Like
he does. He goes from not being a mercenary essentially and kind of trying to subterfuge your team to being on the team. But I mean, Steiner, Vivi.
Yep.
So I always change when you have the opportunity to change Garnet's name. I change it back to Garnet because I hated her name as
you
Dagger.
Didn't like Dagger?
No. But
oh my God, that's right.
Yeah. Characters were awesome. I love the overall theme of the game was like the whole if I'm saying this word wrong, I apologize. The existentialism, like I'm created, but I'm
Right.
still a living thing.
Mhm.
Zidane and Vivi kind of both Vivi for the whole game, Zidane kind of at the end
Yeah.
fought this, right? I'm produced, but that doesn't mean I'm not a living thing
Right.
and I have
feelings.
value.
Yeah.
Right. So great story, great characters. OST is one of my favorites. Maybe the reason why it's not in my top 2 is because of that limited gameplay again, where
Mhm.
you are what you are.
Right. No,
But-
there's no versatility between the job classes or anything like that. There's versatility with the weapons and all that stuff.
Sure. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, and the card game was terrible.
well, it wasn't Tetramaster because Tetramaster was on 8, I think.
It was Triple Triad.
Triple
It was
Triad.
Tetramaster.
Yeah. Oh, Tetramaster was on 9. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right.
That and the jump rope. Oh, 2 of the most brutal mini games in the series. But the game is still number 3 for me.
Megan, thoughts
On 9,
on 9? Yeah.
I did not like 9.
Really?
Yeah.
What
And
was
I
it?
think it's just because when I had finally played it, I was just too young to really understand what was going on either.
Mm.
No, that's a lie. I just didn't like it.
Fair enough.
No, I didn't I just was like, who is this monkey boy?
Yeah.
And I didn't like the characters. I completely even forgot about the guy with the dreadlocks. I don't even know what his name was.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
You
I
mentioned
remember
him.
I remember the guy. I just don't remember the actual dude's name because I totally forgot. I mean, I remember Aiko, who was the only summoner at the time, which I thought was kind of like I thought she was kind of just thrown in there just to be thrown in there to be a summoner, kind of, sort of. Like,
Well,
you know,
she's like what Garnet should have been if Garnet wasn't
right.
moved to Alexandria.
Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah.
I get the dislike because I want to say Final Fantasy IX was the first time they didn't have like a serious main character, right?
Mm.
You had Cecil, you had
Terra,
Cloud, Terra,
yeah,
Squall,
Squall.
and then you had this as Megan put Monkey Boy that was a kind of a fool,
Yeah.
kind of a
Silly.
happy-go-lucky. He wasn't as bad as Vaughn. Vaughn to me is the worst main character in the whole series. But I understand that. But yeah, I disagree on the whole cast. Like Freya, Steiner, Vivi again.
Yeah.
There's some greats in there.
Yeah, Freya was pretty dope. I love the fact, Dragoon style and all that. This was pretty cool. So, good deal. We're getting close. Getting to number 2 now. Megan, what do you got for number 2 in your list?
Final Fantasy X.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Great
it's in
game.
there. This was actually, I believe, the first Final Fantasy I ever played. Yeah, it wasn't my first RPG or JRPG or whatever you want to call them.
Might I ask what your first JRPG was? I'm very curious now.
It was Xenogears.
Really? All right. Good. Good
That's
choice.
my number 1 game. I love that game.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of friend am I? Because that was one of my favorite games as well. But continue. Sorry, I'm sorry. But Final Fantasy X.
Final Fantasy X. Yeah, because
intro to Final Fantasy. Then is that my
that's what it is. Yeah,
okay.
that's why it's up there. It's like was it the first Final Fantasy on the PS2?
Yes, it was.
It was.
Yes. Yeah. So it was the first game that I got with the PS2, and I didn't get the PS2 until like way later. Wasn't expecting release or anything because I didn't really have parents who cared about my gaming habits. So
didn't have the funds or the clout. Gotcha. Yes.
Something. Yeah. And
Yes.
prior to that, I had the PS1.
Okay. But I mean, yeah, that's
Yeah.
so
Final
then,
Fantasy X. Just
might I ask
characters.
the best or worst voice acting of all time?
Oh no, the worst for sure.
That laughing scene. I get it. It's supposed to be ironic. They're laughing because they're sad.
Yeah.
But like, I have to mute it when I replay the game.
Sometimes I watch it just to torture myself. Remember this?
Do you remember how awesome you thought this game was?
Oh God.
Terrible.
Um, But just how amazing it looked at the time
yeah.
for me, anyways. I was like, holy crap, games can be like this?
So it was a cinematic like masterpiece in the time of, man, and the great. I love the graphics in the game were really awesome. At the time, and the summons are really cool too. Especially they use the blur effects really well in that game. Favorite Aeon?
I'm gonna have to say it was Velvor because he was just like her buddy.
Yeah, oh yeah, the bird. Yeah,
Yeah.
the first one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right on.
and he
Joel,
flies.
favorite Aeon?
For Final Fantasy X, for some reason I liked Ifrit because it seemed like he didn't care that Yuna was there. He would like land in and she'd be like blown back by the
That's
fire.
true.
And
Yeah.
just like, yeah, you summon me, so I guess I'll show up. But I'm doing what I want to do.
I can't think of the samurai Aeon, but that was my favorite. Oh, why can't I think of what the samurai Aeons? It wasn't Yojimbo, was it?
I want to say it was Yojimbo.
Was it really Yojimbo? Okay, it was that, and I remember Anima. Anima was like the strongest, but it was the most. It was like the weirdest, like ugliest one.
The
Yeah.
one eye.
Yeah, the one eye and the whole like like I don't know. It just didn't look right to me. I gotta look.
I sucked at Blitzball, though. I could not get that game at all.
I don't think anybody. If anybody's listening, please comment below if you were a Blitzball master, because I don't think anybody that played Final Fantasy X ever was in life, because that game did not make sense at all. I don't care who you are. It really didn't. Like, and back then you didn't really have the internet. I mean, you had strategy guides. I don't know, Joel, did you have a strategy guide for this one?
I did not.
Okay. That's what I like. And so I never understood the game like at all. I just was just like, okay, do you put it in the goal? Like, does that work? Like, it's like Quidditch, right? like
Well, it's weird because it's a sports game with stats. Like I can do everything right, but if my team sucks, I lose. So that kind of was a bummer.
So I can't be Kobe Bryant and just take over the entire game.
I mean, eventually you can, like end game, but
Yes.
you're gonna be It's gonna be a painful first few rounds, and I believe if you don't do the jet shot correctly in the cinematic, it kind of hurts you when you first start playing Blitzball because you don't know the shot.
Yeah.
Comments, fact check me. That could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's a cinematic where you have to do it in front of Yuna, and she's like, ah. And then if you do it, then you can do it when you play the tournament. Again, comments, fact check, please.
Yeah, please, because I'm very interested in that. Facts, like for real. But cool. Final Fantasy 10. I approve of that message. Joel, number 2. What do you got, sir?
Number 2 for me, me and Megan, Final Fantasy 10. This was obviously it was the first. I always forget the number. I think PS2, Xbox were like Gen 6 or something like that. It was the first gen of that Final Fantasy, and it brought so much. Obviously, it brought voice acting for better or for worse. Yep. But it's the gold standard now, so it brought that. One of the best OSTs. I think everyone can agree that the Xanarkin theme is seared into all of our minds.
Yes.
I've heard it at church. I've heard it, on.
Did you really hear it at church?
Heard it at church.
Get out of here.
I've heard it at church. You've heard that correctly.
Wow. What church are you going to? The Church of Square Enix, folks.
No, it's a very very popular Catholic church, and they played it during communion. It's how good of a song it is.
Oh my God.
But Final Fantasy X, the story was epic. I think it's the one of 2 Final Fantasies where there's scenes where I have to. Oh man, I gotta look up because there's some tear jerking going on there when she tries to hug him from behind. She falls right through, and it's heartstrings. And then the battle system. I think it's still the only Final Fantasy where you can utilize your whole party in one battle. Yeah, which is kind of cool because usually the hard part of Final Fantasy is, I have party members that are best in battle, but I want the story aspect. When I go to a town, I want my 2 buddies I like the best story-wise.
Yep. You
don't have to worry about that in Final Fantasy X. You bring the whole crew. The whole crew goes to each town.
They do.
And the whole crew shows up in battle. And, if I want to spam Riku just to heal, that's okay. And then I touched on it. The battle system is diverse. Yeah, you start on your grid, but you can go into any other grid after that. I can make Mario White Mage. That's cool. I can make Tias a Black Mage eventually. That's cool. Yeah. And then the mini games and side quests. Not all of them were fun. The Lightning.
No.
I never finished. Blitzball. I aforementioned.
Wasn't there like in order for you to get like one of the celestial weapons, you have to do some crazy lightning like
Yeah,
you have to
for Lulu, you have to dodge like 100 lightnings in a row or something like that.
Mhm.
Never did it. Sorry.
no, I'm alright
But the
with
side
that.
quests, there's how many aeons that are secrets that you don't need to find to beat the game.
Right.
The one flaw for me for this game was I'm not a fan of unveiling a boss at the end of the game and saying, true bad guy was this guy. So the whole Yu Yevon thing at the end, I get it. The story, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But to kind of pull the rug and say, oh, by the way, bad guy all along, beat
Yeah.
him now. I'm not a fan. Also wasn't a fan in 8 when Ultimisia came out of nowhere and was the final baddie.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan of that. I like my bad guys to have character development
Yeah.
and personal taste.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
Final Fantasy 10.
the best bad guy ever, at me or don't at me, Kefka, Final Fantasy 6. But you guys know that already. That's just number one. Megan, so we talked about it. I wanted to ask one more question before we move on because I think both of you guys had Final Fantasy 10 on your list, which is good for me for the giveaway, bad for everybody else. But who was your main three going into battle? Because obviously you can switch people out, but I mean, who was the main three going in? It was three, right? Was it 3 or 4? I think
3. I believe it was 3.
It was. Yeah, I thought it was 3. Yeah, it was 3. All right. So, all right. Fact check me, folks. Hold on. Anyway, so while I'm looking this up,
I believe I used Kamari,
Okay.
Yuna, and Titus, and I hated having him, but I just used him.
you hated having Titus, or you hated having like?
So, yeah, Titus. Is
Oh, I
Titus
see.
Titus?
I think
Titus.
Dissidia
Titus.
confirmed it's Titus.
Oh, it's Titus.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
When you run away and he's like, "Live and let live."
I do remember that.
Yeah.
For those
He was fast, so I really liked using him because he was fast.
Yeah. I hated Waka. Waka seemed like a super duper island dope. Just
Good against like flying stuff. That's all I use him for.
what'd you use him for?
Against the flying, like giant eyeballs, anything flying, really.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you could use him for at that point.
Mhm.
I didn't know all that great anyway. All right. So before we get to number one, we always like to ask if any of our guests had any honorable mentions before we conclude, because 5 is not, sometimes it's not enough, or most of the time it's not enough. Did you have any honorable mentions, Megan, before we get to number one?
Yeah. Final Fantasy 13.
Okay.
I'm shocked.
I am actually pretty damn
I'm
shocked.
shocked.
But continue.
I know.
I had notes to ask you questions when you had 13 on your list. So thanks, Megan. I wasted like 15 minutes of my life thinking of questions for you.
And it's probably weird, maybe, but for me, it was because the main character was a woman.
For 13?
For 13.
No, but wait. Time out.
I'm just saying that's why it was an honorable mention.
So it. Okay. I guess I'm still this is shock face. Like it's just like wow. Joel, did you have any honorable mentions in this? Because I'm still kind of shocked.
Yeah, before we go into my honorable mentions, I wanted to ask maybe both of you. Maybe not intentional. So again, as I did research, anticipating FF13 to be in Megan's list,
Yes.
I found out that Fang was originally supposed to be a male character. So I almost want to say this was the first, non-traditional couple in the game, in a Squaresoft game, Fang and Vanille. They allude to it. They don't. It's not obvious. It's never obvious, right? But it's. I mean, if you follow the lore, they're supposed to be the two people come from. I think it's Nordic lore from Ragnarok, and it's a man and a woman in the actual lore. And Fang was supposed to be a man before the story started.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's awesome. I think that's. I mean, there are some weird themes in 7 in Wall Market, but I think it's it's something that I think is getting into mainstream games now. That is pretty. Final Fantasy 13 is kind of old, so it's a little forward looking. You guys have any thoughts on that?
I did not know that Fang was originally supposed to be a male, but then now you say that, it's like, okay, I could see how that was supposed to be that way.
Mm-hmm. All I gotta say is, I couldn't tell you just because I never played the game. Well, wait, I take it back. I did play the game for like 5 hours, and I couldn't get over the fact that there was a bird on some dude's head that just came out of nowhere. A little annoying kid that kept running around, and a big ass jock that just wanted to, woe is me. Sorry,
So,
like,
Yeah, a
to
lot
be
of the characters were awful.
oh, they're awful, absolutely terrible, like absolutely horrible.
I do think at least Saz was like the first non-offensive black character that Square Enix had in the game, because Barrett is just like, you can tell they based Barrett off of Mr. T in the first game, or in the original, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Be the fool who doesn't want to go with Avalanche. I just made myself laugh. Okay, so
Honorable mention, sorry.
honorable mentions, Joel.
So this is pretty much going to give away my list. Honorable mention: 6, 8,
Mhm.
12.
Mm-hmm.
Honorable
Keep
mention.
going.
14. I didn't put 14. 14 was going to be 5 originally, but I only beat Realm. So per my policy, I did not finish it, so I cannot list it as my top 5.
That's true. That's true. All right. So, Megan, now that you've completely blown both Joel and myself's minds completely, considering the fact that 13 is not on your list, what is your number one Final Fantasy in your list?
It's 8.
I secretly knew this, but
How did you know this? We talked about
We
this.
have talked
me,
about
me
this
and Megan
before.
are tight. But
You guys are tight. You guys are thick as thieves. Damn it. Final Fantasy 8, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know if you've listened to the last couple of podcasts. I've been bashing on this game for like quite some time now, just because I tried to replay I tried to do the replay or the remake, and I just could not get into it, man. I don't know if vinyl album copy. I just didn't get it. But anyway, Megan, please explain to me why Final Fantasy VIII was such a influence to you, and why it was number one.
Because at the time, let's see, I think it was over a summer, maybe going into high school. I'm not even sure.
Okay.
But I had gone and bought all the Final Fantasy games that the nearby EB Games had.
Mhm.
EB Games at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
And I played them all back to back to back that summer. So I went from oh god, I don't even remember, but I remember playing 7.
Okay.
And I gotta say, I did not like 7. You can say whatever you want, but 7's just not even in my top 5. And then to go to 8, like the jump from 7 to 8,
Yeah.
and then from 8 to 9, and I didn't like 9. So to me, it was like, of that trilogy of games, it was like 8 was the good one to me. But I really liked the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were like teenagers. They're teenagers like I was at the time.
Mm.
And at the time, the story was unpredictable to me. There was like that twist near the end, or I guess maybe it's not near the end, but you find out you had all been like orphans together at some point, and who you think is the bad guy used to be someone who took care of you, and like it I don't know. It's just it was different, and the world was different too. It was like, I want to say they like based it off of like East Germany or something.
Okay.
Very European and stuff like that, which was like familiar enough, but different enough to be like, it's kind of believable, but not believable. Whereas the other stuff was like definitely like fantasy.
Sure.
This is just like close enough for me that it was like, this is believable.
This is more reality than it's more reality more than fantasy.
Yeah, and there were no like overly strange characters. There was no Red 13. There was no Kamari. There was no weird dreadlocks guy.
No weird monkey. No weird monkey boys. No anything like that. It was just basically a bunch of teenage. Yeah, you can definitely see that. My take on it is I couldn't stand them, and I guess it's because I don't think the story, and Joel brought this up months ago when I bought the game, was that the story doesn't hold up very well. now.
Yeah.
If I play it, I'm playing it now, and I was like, this is I couldn't stand it. Like, couldn't stand Selfie, couldn't stand Squall and his smug ass attitude, and Renoa being so like just ditzy, like, oh, look at me.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. Oh.
Like I've rewatched some videos on YouTube of it, and I'm just like, I can't believe I enjoyed this game. And then I had to stop. I was like, don't ruin it. Don't ruin the memories.
Yeah, exactly. Don't ruin the memories. Exactly. Like just keep it the way it is. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it, man. Joel, thoughts? Like, I mean, I'm just
Yeah. So 8 would be my number 6. I thoroughly enjoyed 8.
Mhm.
8 has my favorite OST of all time, video game OST of all time.
Check it out, episode 11.
Our last pod. Yep.
Yep.
I like the characters. I think they had depth. I think they were normal. They were so grain of salt, right? These are teenagers, 17, 18-year-olds hired as mercenaries.
Yep.
They're meant to, be super soldiers. They're better than all the other soldiers, but they're still growing.
Yep.
It had my favorite minigame of all time, Triple Triad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Favorite minigame by far of all time. My problem was, and I think because if I have my years right, they made Final Fantasy VII in 1996, Final Fantasy VIII in 1998, and then Final Fantasy IX they released in 1999. That means they were co-producing 9 when 8 came out.
Yep.
I feel like the ending of 8 was rushed. The story was pretty good. The story was good. And then I respectfully disagree with you, Megan. I did not like the twist. I thought it was lazy. The whole orphanage thing. If the whole game they are building up to, hey, these guys are only special because they use Guardian forces, which really screw with your brain. If they kept repeating that fact over and over, I would say, okay, this makes sense. But they kind of threw it in there in like a tutorial that it goes into your brain, and then brought it up again when the reason why they all forgot. And then I'm not a fan of the whole Ultimisia is the real bad person. I thought the end of the game was lazy. That's why I didn't quite make my top 5. But I was a huge fan. It would be number 6 if we did. What's your 6?
This is what's your 5, Joel.
Of the junctions.
I liked it. So, all right, I'll date myself here. When I first played this game, I bought it at launch. I was 10 years old. I was not that good at video games. I did not understand the junction system, and I got to Adele with Ifrit, Shiva, Quetzalcoatl, and Diablos, and that's it. That was my whole GFs. Because I didn't know you had to draw GFs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand junctioning, so I didn't have anything junctioned, and I struggled at every single boss. I think I was stuck on Raijin and Fujin for like a month. And then I bought the guidebook, and I was like, oh, this is how you play the game. So I'm totally fine with the junction system today. I do feel like in combination with cards, you can really exploit it. But if you do it like kind of the correct way, where you only use magic that you encounter in the wild,
right?
As you move along, the difficulty curve isn't too bad, or not too easy, I should say. But if you just play cards for an hour, right when you get back from Fire Cavern, you can pretty much be OP until halfway through the game. So I didn't mind it. I thought it was a good change. I just wish it was better described.
Yeah, I think the tutorial was very, very. It was not very easy to follow, especially as you as a 10-year-old Joel, me as a 16-year-old.
Oh no, you're old enough to understand. We're done.
I wasn't nearly as smart. I was like, what is this? Like, all right, actually, I take that back. I was playing in Japanese. That's different. I was I didn't understand because I had the Japanese version before I had the English version. At that point, I just was like, forget it. But one thing I did want to ask Megan, because you did buy the Final Fantasy games. Did you buy guidebooks when you were playing the games, or did you just go to town like you just played?
I did not buy guidebooks, no.
See, Joel?
I don't even think I knew guidebooks were a thing back then.
Really?
Yeah.
No. I don't know. I always thought that, everybody, I mean, there was a lot of guidebooks, especially for Final Fantasy stuff, but I mean, I don't know. This is me, but yeah. Okay. Good deal. So Final Fantasy 8. So, all right. I'm still in shock about the 13 thing, just because I know you have a couple of tattoos, actually, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I have the
right.
And then there's one on the inside of my arm that's just hard to show.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's crazy. All right. So Joel, do I really have to ask you what your number 1 is? But I'm just gonna let you do it anyway.
Sure. My number 1 is Final Fantasy VII.
Yay!
So I do tend to, I guess Megan just actually disproved my theory, but I do tend to believe the theory that typically the first Final Fantasy you play is your favorite.
Yep.
Megan disproved that by saying she played 8 later.
Yep.
But this was the first Final Fantasy I played. If you do the math from the previous choice, I was 8 when this game came out. Did not understand the heck of it. Like, I was terrible at it. But to me, the bad graphics actually holds up. So it's realistic, right? FF8 is realistic. FF7 is not realistic, so it's like it's a style. But to me, best story. As you can tell by the huge expanded universe of Final Fantasy 7, the story has so much depth.
Yep.
So many great characters. Not just your party, right? The Turks are awesome. Your Avalanche members are awesome.
Yep.
The Shinra people are pretty cool. The baddies, Nova, Sephiroth, they're cool. And I think, and I don't know if it's because of the time it came out in, the late 90s, where people were still okay with a very Japanese game, and then I think they kind of dialed it back.
Yeah.
But like, could Wall Market have happened 5 years later, where the main character cross dresses? I don't think so.
No,
I don't think Square would have taken that chance and said, yeah, our main character will cross dress and we'll have blatantly cross dressing males throughout the whole environment. I think when you go to the gym, everyone there cross dresses.
Yep.
I don't think they would have done that.
Yep.
I think that the game has kept its Japaneseness, but still appealed to American audiences.
Is that a word, Japaneseness?
Yeah, it totally is. It's an adjective. OST is amazing. Gameplay is great. Side quests are awesome. The best chocobo system out of all the series. Sorry, Megan. I know you like 15.
I just like riding chocobos.
Fair enough. The chocobo breeding was one of my favorite mini games of all the series. Materia system, again, I like the flexibility.
Yeah.
So Final Fantasy 7, shocker, I know.
Shocker indeed, because we've talked about this the past 3 episodes. Just saying. Megan, thoughts, please.
I think my issue is I was just way too young to understand the game at the time.
Really? Wait a minute. So
I'm sorry, not too young, too old. I'm sorry. Let me start over. I was not too old, but I had played it after playing 10.
Right.
And going back that far to 7.
I see.
Yeah. I was just like, this wasn't that long ago.
But then, did you get the
it?
feels though when at the end of disc 1? Correct me if I'm wrong, Joel. Yeah,
I'm giving a thumbs up for.
I wasn't attached to the characters at all.
So it didn't matter when you saw things go down, materia dropped, all that stuff.
Nope.
Man, you are heartless. I'm just joking.
So Final Fantasy the remake. I was prepared to cry when you go up to the the pillar to get up there before they drop the plate, because I know people die there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't sad at all. It was just long dialogue before I slowly die in your arms. I'm like, just fucking heal him. Wait here.
I always thought about that, right? Like, you ever think about these games, Final Fantasy 10 or 7 or whatever? It's just like, you don't make this big deal about people dying, but in reality, couldn't you just be like, life spell? Or, here, throw a phoenix down at you. Oh, you're back up again.
So my theory on this, Phoenix down is for unconscious, KO.
Okay.
When people die in battle, they just get knocked out. They're not dead. When Aerith is dead, she's dead. She's dead. Dead. She's not coming back. She's, Phoenix down. You can throw all the feathers you want at her. She ain't coming back. I've heard this before, but that's my personal theory, that when you're killed in battle, you're really just knocked out. And then if all you get knocked out, then the monster eats all you guys up. My theory.
Oh man. Well, that's that was awesome. It's good to know that there's, because again, I love 6. 7 was great, but I don't really have anybody that would actually talk about 7 in that because everybody's like 7 was the greatest game of all time. Glad that you had the different perspective on that, Megan. And with that being said, we're pretty much done with our lists. You guys now know what you guys have to choose from as far as your giveaway choices are concerned, whoever wins. And so, again, if you guys want to look at the list again, you guys can go to the website, whatsyour5.com. Again, look at the link at the description below to be able to enter our giveaway for this month for the November giveaway for these Final Fantasy games. If you have any questions, if you have any topics you'd like to discuss, or if you want to be on the show, please go ahead and reach out to us at topics@whatsyour5.com. Or if you want to go into any of our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, it's at whatsyour_5. Megan, thank you so much for being on here. I truly appreciate your time. And Joel, thanks again, like always. And if you guys have anything else to say, we're pretty much done.
See you guys.
See ya.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, no worries.